Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I know, this is a lot, but hear me out, okay? I was feeling like wearing blue eyeshadow today and yeah, so we ended up with this blue eye. And I don't know, something about blue eyeshadow makes me feel like I need a little bit more of a dark, vampy lip. So I don't know what's going on. It's still the holidays, but we're giving goth blue goddess or whatever it is. But that's not what y'all came here for. As you saw from the title and the thumbnail, today we're going to be doing the best makeup palettes, well, eyeshadow palettes of 2022. So, this was honestly just like something that I decided to do today. So this is a little bit random, but you know, go with me on this one. Now, if this is your first time watching me, hi, welcome. I'm Jamila. I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup. I love all things skincare, but I especially love sharing tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. Ooh la la. Okay, I don't know what that was. Y'all, I'm tired. I'm ready for 2022 to end, but anyways, now before we dive into the video, I did want to share a quick favorite before we get into my eyeshadow favorites. And that is because I was recently gifted some new jewelry from Ana Luisa. And since this is the season for gifting, I wanted to let you guys know about Ana Luisa as a brand and what they have going on, because you may be on the hunt for some last minute Christmas presents that that are easy and honestly really nice for everyone. So I've done a video about Ana Luisa before when they did send me some pieces previously, and they are a sort of minimalist jewelry brand. They produce really high quality, luxury looking pieces, like luxury pieces at really good prices, and they are very, very sustainable in the way they produce their jewelry. One of the things that I appreciate the most about Ana Luisa is that they are these sort of petite pieces that you can wear on an everyday basis. Like, I like my good statement jewelry any day, but honestly lately I've found myself wearing more smaller petite pieces that I wear every day that just kind of go with everything. So they did send me 3 pieces, so I'm gonna bring you guys in a little bit closer so you can see them. The first thing that they sent me are these hoop earrings. They are this rope design, which I think is just honestly so cute. I love hoops. Will wear the bigger ones when I'm out and about, but I think these smaller ones are really nice for just kind of everyday wear. They're not too large, they're not too chunky, and they don't like intimidate me in terms of wearing them on an everyday basis. Then they sent me this really, really nice necklace. Now, I'm wearing it pretty high, but you can actually lower it. But what I really enjoy about this necklace is the design. It's so intricate, and I hope you can see it here in this video. It's so beautiful, so intricate. And I thought that it was very different from a normal link necklace. So I really wanted to have that because I enjoy having necklaces to layer, as you see. Like, I have my regular necklace and I can put this on top of it and it layers very, very nicely. And I love the way that it sits here pretty high, but it's not too large because I do have some larger pieces that sometimes doesn't layer very well, but I like how this one layers. And then lastly, this really nice chunky bracelet. Now, this is very different from my style, and I wasn't sure about this, and I do believe that this comes in a bit bigger design if you wanted something that's a little bit thicker, but I like how small this is, and I think that this is honestly a pretty nice statement piece by itself if you just want one bracelet. And I do want to show you guys one more piece that I actually purchased myself. It's this rope ring. You've probably seen this before because I've worn it several times. And this actually matches the earrings perfectly. And this is the big one. They do have a thinner version if you don't like how chunky this is. So I like that I got the earrings specifically because I wanted it to match the ring. When they asked me what pieces I wanted, because I knew I had the ring, I wanted to get the rope earrings to match, and it's really, really stunning. Now, like I said, they create these really petite pieces that are super high quality. I've had my Ana Luisa pieces for several months now. I haven't experienced any fading or anything like that, and I do sometimes wear them in the shower. Will forget to take them off and wear them to the gym, but they don't affect my skin. It doesn't turn my skin green. It doesn't break me out, and I haven't noticed any tarnishing since I've been wearing them. And like I said, I will wear them in the shower sometimes or to the gym, so very happy about that. Now, they did go ahead and give me a 20% off coupon code for you guys to use. And like I said, if you got some last minute Christmas gifts that you need to get for people, honestly, jewelry is always great. It's always safe. I am definitely somebody who prefers gold, but they do have silver pieces as well. If gold isn't what you like, you can get these pieces in silver as well. But definitely recommend you guys checking them out because I have come to honestly really, really love their products. I did purchase a ring for my mom, and my sister has been trying to steal a couple of my pieces, so I probably will get her some of her own so she can leave mine alone. But that is it. Thank you, Ana Luisa, for sending me these pieces. Absolutely love them, and I look forward to growing my Ana Luisa collection more, which has grown a lot already. Okay, so now let's get into the best eyeshadow palettes of 2022. This is in no particular order, honestly. I just pulled 10 palettes that I like really, really loved. So I'm not ranking these in terms of like 10 to 1, but this is the best of the best that I found in my collection. Okay, starting with an easy one, I have to give it to Mama Pat and her Mothership number 10. Now, when Mothership 10 came out, I wasn't completely sold on it because it looked pretty basic, to be quite honest. And then I picked it up on sale and I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely fabulous. I think that this is such a nice, I don't want to call it safe, but it is a safe universal release for her 10th palette, because I feel like this is a palette that could work for everybody. It's cool toned, but not too cool toned, where on someone who has like a warmer, more yellow golden complexion, it looks a little gray. It's one that I think will work on folks that lean more cool versus more warm in their undertone. So I think that she did a really, really great job at selecting these. As with all Patricia shades, you know, you get really good depth. So, you know, regardless of if you are super light or super dark, you can really build up and buff out her shades as you need them to. And I think that she chose some really, really nice sparkly shades with this one. And this is one that I think goes very well from day to night, as well as from everyday casual to glam. I think that this is one that really does span the gamut of how much you can use it in different situations, which doesn't apply to all of her motherships. The one flaw that I will say with this one, and it's not even really a flaw, is that all of her special shades are that super hyper sparkly formula. So if you don't like that super sparkly formula and you were expecting to get some of those baked special shades, they're not in here. And I'm kind of sad that she didn't include any in here, and I'm realizing that in her more recent motherships, those baked shades seem to be going away, which I hope she brings back, because what I love about the baked shades is that because they're not super sparkly, you can actually wear them on like textured lids if you want something that's a little bit softer but really nice shine. So hopefully we'll see some of those baked shades come back in Mothership 11. I don't know, but maybe Patricia will give us something different. But yes, I think that was one of the best palettes of 2022, and I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, but as, you know, being that great, but honestly, it was bomb.com. The next palette that I want to mention is the Nomad Cosmetics, is it? Yes, Nomad Cosmetics Whistler palette. Now, this is one that I had to go way back in the way back because it came out in like January of 2022, so really, really early in the year. And in some ways, I think a lot of us forgot about it. But when I think back to like using this palette, I remember being so excited by this, creating so many looks by this, literally having to basically hide this palette away so that I wouldn't reach for it because the quality is great. The mattes here blend like a dream. You get really great pigmentation. The only one that I didn't love was this blue matte because on my skin tone, it blends out pretty teal. So if you want it to show up as this royal blue, you really have to pack it on and do very little blending. But other than that, I think everything in here worked so well. And I think that there was a ton of versatility in this palette in terms of you get this kind of like red row, you get some blue shades, you get greens, and then you get neutrals, like, you know, standard gold shade. So I think that, you know, Nomad did a really great job in giving us a lot of options in here, and I think that this is a palette that was so appropriately themed and timed for winter that it worked really well when it came out, and is still one that I think is pretty top-notch quality today. They also did include 2 duochromes. It's not the strongest duochrome, so take that however you need to take it. But I thought that they were still really nice, and I don't think we've really seen them do duochromes in the palettes coming after this, but they did include it in here, and I think that this is just a solid palette, and you guys know I love the Nomad formula. Next up, we have a little itty bitty baby palette. This is the Pillow Talk Dreams palette from Charlotte Tilbury. It's just 4 shades, but this is the type of palette that you can take with you when you travel if you know you're not going to do anything special and you just want like a simple everyday look, but it can still look pretty like glam. This is a gorgeous palette. And thank God something sparked in Charlotte where she was like, okay, we need to make sure that this has enough depth for the girls, because I think her original Pillow Talk palette is really light and does not bode well for like my complexion or deeper. But this Dreams palette really is one where she gave us enough depth Could have been deeper, but it's a quad, so I'll let it go. But she gave us enough depth, at least for me, where I could create a nice eye and smoke out of the corner really well. And something about these shimmers here, really nice. One of the things with Charlotte Tilbury shimmers, especially her more toppery shades, is that they get hard pan really well. They don't apply to the lid really well. They don't stick to the lid really well. This one, it has that sparkle that a topper shade has, but it sticks to the lid and it has that base pigmentation that I think is really important. So I really think that this is a great palette. Like, you're gonna get one look with it, but the one look you're gonna get is gonna be amazing. Maybe two. Because you have two, so it's 2 shimmers, 2 mattes. You're gonna get 2 looks tops, but it's gonna be beautiful, stunning looks. Next up, I'm gonna keep this one short, I promise, but I had to mention the Adept Cosmetics House of L palette. And you guys know how I feel about this palette. I bought a backup of this palette, which is like completely against my rules. Like, I don't believe in buying backups of palettes because once you have a really large collection, the chances of you using out a palette, slim to like non-existent. But I had to mention this palette from the sheer amount of times that I've used this palette and I've reached for this palette just on like an everyday basis and on a special occasion basis. This is a palette that I reach for so frequently. And it's a palette that I reach for even with not liking a third of the palette. Like, if this was just this, I think this would be perfect. The mattes in this palette, I don't like it. I've said it several times, so I'm not going to belabor that point. But the shimmers in here really are special. And I think that they are so stunning. And they are so stunning and they stand out so much to me that this is a palette that I continuously go back to time and time again. So it has to be one of my favorites, or one of the best palettes in my opinion, of 2022. And if honestly you are somebody that liked the Adept matte formula before they reformulated in Amunet, then honestly this might not be an issue for you at all, and you might like that palette more than I do because you like the mattes as well. Now, going from super sparkly to super smooth and not in your face sparkle, I had to mention the Byredo Flora Kalahari palette. First of all, packaging, it's so beautiful. Now, Byredo was a new formula to me in 2022, and when I saw this palette, I hemmed and hawed about it because it was pretty expensive, but I was really curious about the formula, so I decided to pick it up. And this is a beautiful palette, and quite frankly, videos, pictures, and honestly just watching it does not do it justice. What really stands out to me about this palette is when you actually put it on the eye, because in the pan, in videos, in pictures, it looks kind of like, okay, I guess that's cute. A lot of the shades look really similar, but on the eyes, they do something special. And what I noticed when I tried this palette is that the longer I wear it and the more the shades settle into my skin, the better it looked. And this is a palette that I think is particularly beautiful for people that have textured lids, for people that don't like that super high sparkly, high shine, but want a little bit of a sheen and a glow to the eyes that just looks stunning. This, I think, is that palette. And I think that in your collection, while we are at this point where everyone wants super high shine, super high sparkly, I think it's really important to have one of these palettes that aren't doing the most. And this is, I think, one of the best ones that I found that gives me that sheen. Like, it reminds me a lot of the Tom Ford palettes. Yeah, like the Tom Ford formula, even like what was in Natasha Denona Zendo. But I think that this just did it so much better. And honestly, now I'm more curious about the Byredo formula, and I am definitely going to be looking out more for some of these larger palettes, because I think that if this is what they do in their big palettes, I want to keep my eye on it going forward. Next up, I think this will be no surprise to anyone. It's the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. This really was a dream. I'll give it to Tasha. Typically, Tasha's dreams and my dreams are not the same, but when Tasha created this palette, she knew what she was doing, and she created a palette that honestly was really nice for me and people of deeper complexions, because all of the shades here work for me. Like, there are very few Natasha Denona palettes where I can say every single shade is going to work on my complexion, or that there's a shade deep enough that I can create a smoky outer V that works on my complexion. But with this palette, she gave us the depth, she gave us the richness, she gave us the punch, the pigment, the blendability, everything. Every single shade in this palette works. And that is what makes this really stand out to me, is because it's very rare, especially when we start getting into these bigger palettes, that every single shade works. That doesn't happen to me very often, but it does. And what I really appreciated about this, in addition to everything working, and it's not simply because she gave us a black that can be used to deepen up other shades, there are 3 really rich shades here. This deep brown, this black, and then this kind of deep burgundy-ish shade that can be used to deepen things up. So it wasn't just like a throwaway black that could be used, but it was really, really thoughtful in how she put this together. And, you know, yes, the duochrome in here and the multichrome aren't the strongest, but I think that the shimmers in here were really beautiful. And this is one that I've traveled with for work, I've traveled with for fun, and it's such a beautiful palette that I think can also go from like super glam to really nice and work appropriate very easily. Next up is a palette that has been on my mind honestly since it came out, and that is the Fantasy Cosmetica Druid palette. I think that this is just the color story that I like, and I think that's why it calls to me so much, because I think that this was just a color story and a really well curated palette that I really liked. And quite frankly, the formula in here was superb. I thought that the mattes blended really well. There was a lot of pigmentation. You guys already know these 2 shades are very similar to each other, so the duplication we probably could have done without, but overall, I thought this was really well put together. The shimmers were really beautiful, really thoughtful. Nice shine, but not too much where it felt like over the top. And it was creamy enough that I think that it is one that could work for people that have oily lids and are oftentimes hesitant about some of these shades because they're too creamy and they crease and whatnot. But this was one that I just loved every look that I came up with. I loved the color story and I loved the quality of it. And it literally like lives in my mind rent free. And I wish I could use it more, but I'm trying to go through my basket of shame, so I don't reach for it as much as I want to. Okay, 2 palettes left. And I went back and forth on this because I do have other Oden Eyes palettes, but I had to mention the Solmã too. Like right now I am testing the Christmas and Christmas Eve palettes, and those are nice. Don't get me wrong, but something about both of them doesn't tickle my pickle as much as the Solmã 2 palette does. I just think that this is stunning. I think that every single shade in here is beautiful. I love that it's kind of curated by rows. So you get the blue row, the purple row, and this kind of like coppery row. And these all mesh together so well. And the mattes in here, oh my god, the mattes in here are amazing. And the reason why like this stands out to me more than the others is that this has 0 multichromes in it. It has 0 multichromes, 0 duochromes. It's just standard shimmers, and somehow I like this more than the Christmas and the Christmas Eve palette, which includes multichromes. So because of how much this like really I just think it's so beautiful and so well thought out, and honestly so beautifully curated, and the quality is top notch. I had to choose that one and definitely choose it over the other 2 Oden's Eye palettes that I have. And then lastly, again, another one that I think is no surprise to anyone, it is the Uoma Beauty Black Magic Freedom palette. I think that this was one that really brought Uoma Beauty back to the forefront as a brand that we should be looking out for, and one that shouldn't have fallen off in the first place. I was so impressed by the quality of these shimmers that it just kind of blew me out to the water. Now the mattes are nice. They're nothing to write home about, but they are nice quality mattes. But this kind of like paired with the shimmers, it was stunning. And these are duochromes, but they're not the strongest shift, but they are really nice. And there's just something about when the light hits this that it gives you a different kind of sparkle. And I remember when I first tried this on my eyes, it reminded me of Pat McGrath shadows, and the way in which I remember the first time when the light hit my Pat McGrath shadows, I was like, whoa, okay, that is giving a different kind of shimmer. And I felt that same thing when I tried this Uoma Beauty formula. And it's one that, because I really enjoyed this so much, I went back and bought, 4 more Uoma Beauty palettes. I think I have all of them now. And it's all off of the strength of this one palette and the quality on this one palette. And I think that the Uoma Beauty palettes, the Uoma Beauty brand, is one that we all need to be looking out for. And if you want somewhere to start, this is where you start, because I think that the mattes are nice. They're super pigmented. They blend really well. There's a really nice curation of mattes in the palette in terms of depth and having, you know, a nice black to deepen things up, also a really nice brown, but also these lighter shades that can be used to buff things out and blend things out. And then, like I said, you get some really nice duochromes with some really high shine, really high sparkle. So this is one that I think really so many people picked it up and were like, oh, okay, I see you, Uoma Beauty. Okay, and that's it from me, guys. That is my best 2022 eyeshadow palettes. Now, before you leave, don't forget to check the description box. I will have a discount code for Ana Luisa if you want to check out any of their pieces. So don't forget to check that down below. And while you're at it, leave a comment letting me know what are your favorite palettes of 2022. You don't have to have bought them in well, you don't have to, they don't have to have been released in 2022, but whatever you purchased in 2022 that you really loved, I would love to know that in the comments. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and like the video, subscribe on your way out, share with a friend because 'tis the season for sharing, and sharing is caring. And as always, thank you so much for watching, thank you for supporting, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!